Some people build wealth. Others help people sleep at night while they do it. Alan Porter sits at that rare intersection of strategy, stewardship, and long-term thinking. He spent decades advising business owners and high achievers on how to grow, protect, and transfer wealth in ways that actually align with their life, the way they want to live, not just the balance sheet that they want to admire. As the founder of Strategic Wealth Strategies, Alan has guided entrepreneurs through moments that quietly define a lifetime. Big exits, unexpected downturns, succession decisions, the intellectual reckoning that comes when success arrives, but clarity doesn't. What makes Alan different is not just technical expertise. It's the lived understanding that money magnifies whatever is unresolved: ambition, fear, identity, purpose. He's now seen how quickly financial wins can become emotional liabilities when strategy outpaces self-awareness. His work is grounded in one simple but uncomfortable truth. Wealth without intention eventually creates friction with family, with health, with yourself. This conversation opens the door to the decisions that no one talks about while they're busy chasing growth, the private doubts behind public success, the trade-offs entrepreneurs make without realizing the long-term cost, and the moment when building more stops being the answer and building better becomes the real work. Deep Wealth Nation, welcome to another episode of the Deep Wealth Podcast. Well, Deep Wealth Nation, let me ask you this. Whether you're looking at your year end and your profits, maybe you're planning to have an exit, I got to tell you something. It's not what your profits are. It's not what you get for your exit. It's what you actually keep. That's what you should be looking at. And so many entrepreneurs, they don't realize that. They don't understand that. And between now and wherever it is that you want to go, are you deploying the best tax strategies, the best investment strategies, or are you putting everything at risk because your business is all that you have and nothing else is going on? I know lots of questions. You heard the official introduction. We have a terrific guest in the House of Deep Wealth, a fellow entrepreneur, an author, another podcaster. And Alan, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. There is always a story behind the story. So Alan, what is your story? What got you from where you were to where you are today?
Well, Jeffrey, I never thought I'd be doing this. I was a Black Hawk instructor pilot in the Army. I retired in 1993, and I love serving my country. I love flying. I had a passion for doing it. I had a successful real estate mortgage business after I retired from the Army up until 2008, but I've had some tragic things happen to my family. Now, I live in Fayetteville, North Carolina. My son lived in Little Rock, Arkansas with his wife, Lynn. She was 39, and they had two little girls that are 7 and 4. And we went out there for Christmas in 2009. And in 2008, my business really went down the tubes because of real estate and mortgage. But in 2009, we went out there for Christmas, and my son had been 100% disabled for 3 years and still not getting his disability. Hired an attorney, finally got his disability in the summer of 2010. But January 5th, 2010 changed my entire life, Jeffrey. His wife called me. She said, Alan, I've been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and they've given me 6 months to live. Well, I was like 99% of people out there that thought life insurance was a death product, that you had to die to benefit from it. Now, there's no money coming in other than the money that I'm helping them with. But I don't know how long I can do this before I have to sell my house and help 2 families at one time. But she happened to have a terminal illness rider on her life insurance policy to let her access the death benefit, which was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, 1 year, and within 1 year of diagnosis of this deadly disease. And if it had not been for that, my son would be bankrupt, and it took a huge financial strain off of me. Well, she died a year later. I moved my son back here, and but my problems didn't end then, because my daughter, who's an oncology nurse, her husband's a doctor, had given birth to my 3rd grandson, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer and almost died. We didn't think she was going to make it, but now she's 13 years cancer free. But in 2023, she also contracted Graves' disease and thyroid eye condition. And there's no cure for it. They have one treatment, it's called Tripeza. It's an infusion, 8 infusions. The first one's like $32,000. The last one's almost $250,000. Well, the problem is January of 2024, the thyroid eye condition came back. She went to the doctor in February. The doctor said, Nicole, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do until you go blind, and then we can operate. And I'm thinking, what a prognosis. So we tried to get her to study at Duke. She didn't qualify for it because she had taken the Tripeza. We did get her into the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota for 4 days of testing and consultation. There's basically nothing they can do for her either. They've got some drug, but it's experimental. It's over $500,000, and it's not covered by insurance. but they don't even know it's not even for the thyroid eye condition. They say it may be 50% effective. They don't know for sure. So she's slowly going blind day by day. But I want people to understand there's so many things can happen outside of your business that will affect you and turn your dreams into nightmares. And this is what happened to me. But I became very passionate about insurance and insurance products. Now, I used to be a registered investment advisor. I do stocks and bonds, but I don't charge people a fee. And that's why I don't do that anymore. I have a team of people. And what I mean by, and they're specialists too, Jeffrey. What I mean by specialists, let's say I'm your family doctor. I can treat you for minor illnesses, minor injuries. But if you want your knee operated on, you want the orthopedic surgeon, the specialist. And that's what I have on my team, tax-specific attorneys, CPAs, and other specialists. And we collaborate together to come up with solutions for people's financial problems. We show people how to reduce and possibly eliminate both debt and taxes, possibly set them up with a tax-free retirement that will eliminate or mitigate all the risk in retirement that most people don't even know about. And I also have a preventative health and wellness program for business owners that they will save anywhere from $1,200 a year per W-2 employee. And they have an 8% higher production rate and a 7% higher retention rate. So your entrepreneurs, your business people are always looking for more revenue. So they got that extra money coming in from, say, FICA taxes. They've got extra money coming in from the revenue, increased revenue, and they have less problems with the recruitment and retention of qualified individuals. But for the employees, this is absolutely huge. They get an extra around $100 a month in their paycheck. And it's a Section 125 program. But they also have 1,100 drugs that are zero copay. Now think about that. If you have a healthcare plan for people, that's set 20 to 30% of the cost of that healthcare program. But then not only that, they have the number one telehealth app in the United States, according to JPF Power Associates, the Welllution app. They've got an app for your dogs. You don't have to go to the veterinarian. You just call the veterinarian on an app. He finds out what's wrong and prescribes a certain prescription or whatever. But the list goes on and on. There's an accidental death benefit program for them, but the list goes on and on. That's just preventative health and wellness. It's no net cost to the employer, no net cost to the employee, but it will save the employer tons of money. But the other things I do is I teach people to think outside the box of conventional financial planning. Like I said, I also do tax planning and tax saving. I'm not a CPA. I do not give tax advice. But my team and I know of tax strategies that your CPA, your attorney may know a little bit about, or they may know nothing about, nothing at all. But if they know a little bit about, that can be dangerous. That's going to invite audits and everything else. But I have the experts in my team, and we go to tax planning, tax saving, asset protection, business exit strategy. And I say, what's your exit strategy to business owners? And they said, well, what do you mean, Alan? I said, when you sell your business, would you rather have a tax deduction instead of paying capital gains tax? Well, Alan, I want a tax deduction, but how do I do that? Well, it's not how I do it. It's how my team does it. It's who I know that knows how to do it. And they're part of my team. But that's why I deal with a lot of affluent clients. And they always tell me that their attorney and their CPA and the financial, give them all their tax and financial advice. I said, that's great. I'm not here to replace anybody's advisor, but I want to work with them as a team to give you the best possible financial scenario. But I have two questions for you. The first question is, when is the last time any of them ever give you any proactive advice on saving taxes? It's slim to never. I've never had anybody tell me that they have, any of my clients anyway, ever give any proactive advice. And I said, the other question I have for you, you may have the greatest advisors in the world, but it's what they don't know that's going to end up costing you tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars, undue taxes, fees, and lost opportunity costs. And they all agree with me. And they said, but Alan, what do you mean by lost opportunity costs? Well, I said, well, let me ask you this question. What if I could build you a tax-free retirement plan that does not affect the taxation of Social Security or the means testing of Medicare Part B or IRMA taxes? You're protected from lawsuits, liens, and judgments. You can become your own financial institution. The list goes on and on. It mitigates or eliminates all the risk in retirement, and it's paid for by the government through a tax strategy that I did. They said, well, that's great, Alan. Again, it's my team that knows how to do it. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a gentleman we finished him in October. He was a dentist. He sold his practice down in Hilton Head. He sold for $8.3 million. They're going to pay our team's going to pay all the taxes for him. He's going to get the installments over a 4-year period. But we did a tax strategy for him last year that he's going to get $2,280,000 back in past taxes he paid over the last 3 years through a tax strategy. And there's tax strategies out there, and that's one of the things that my people are experts in. And people, they're leaving way, way too much money on the table because they don't think outside the box of conventional financial planning, for one thing, and they don't get a second opinion because they've been some of their financial planners for 10, 20, 30 years, and they think they know everything, but they don't. And that's why I tell people, I said, if you went to the doctor and said, the doctor said, well, you need brain surgery. Are you going to rely on him or do you want a second opinion? Always get a second opinion, sometimes a third opinion. But, there's things like people don't understand in retirement. A lot of people, and a lot of entrepreneurs, sometimes they invest in a 401k or whatever. But I'm going to tell you, we've been inundated by the propaganda of Wall Street and fee-based advisors that the only way to invest for your retirement is through a 401k or a stock portfolio. Do you realize 58% of the people out there don't even think there's a fee on the 401k? And the average fee in a 401k is 2.99%. People are going to have less than half of their money, and then they get hit with taxes anywhere from 20 to over 55%. And they're not prepared for it because they're going to be out of money. I have multimillionaires that are 65 years of age, and their financial advisors have never told them anything about the risk of retirement, and they're supposed to be fiduciaries. Now, I'm a certified financial fiduciary, but let's say that you've got $1 million in a stock portfolio, okay? They used to say a 4% distribution rate was a safe distribution rate to last for 30 years, indexed for inflation at 3%. Well, all my retirement plans go to age 120 or till end of life, not just till 30 years. But the thing is, that $40,000 you're taking from that portfolio, that's not guaranteed, okay? What if the first year you lose 10% in the market? That goes from $1 million down to 900,000 minus the $40,000 you took out, minus the fees you pay that financial advisor, whether you make money or not. And then what happens if in the next 2 to 3 years, 2008 happens again, where you lost 38 to 52%? People are going to be out of money in the fifth year. But so basically, in a Reader's Digest version, sequence returns risk is if you lose money, when you start taking money out in the first 2 to 3 years of a 10-year period or a 20-year period, instead of the last 2 to 3 years of a 10 or 20-year period, you're going to be out of money anywhere from the fifth to the ninth year, and they're not prepared for it.
Yeah, my goodness, Alan. So much there. Firstly, thank you so much for your service and the sacrifices that you made. You did what you did so we can do what we do. And I'm so grateful for you being in the service. Thank you so much. And really, my heart goes out to you and the family for the journey that you've been through with the family members and on the health side, and never easy on that side. And okay. Alan, as you're walking us through this, most entrepreneurs never think of what I call the final exit. This is the exit nobody wants. And sadly, nobody has a choice about that either. And for the entrepreneurs, the glass is always half full and I'm charging forward. Everything's going to be great. And then as you've shared with a number of stories, life can happen. So let's take a step back for just a moment. I want to start dispelling some of the myths because Deep Wealth Nation, you heard some incredible strategies. We're going to learn more about that from Alan. And by the way, Deep Wealth Nation, go to the show notes. You'll learn about Alan's podcasts, the books that he's written, the incredible resources that he's putting out there. Alan, from a very high level, if we look at what some people call Pareto's Law or the 80-20 principle, is there patterns that you're seeing where these patterns, yes, Jeffrey, 80% of the challenges that entrepreneurs, as an example, are going through are coming from the same 20% of these issues, these actions or lack of actions. Are there some high-level patterns that you can share with us that you can educate us on?
Well, basically, the 80-20 principle reflects everything in life. Your top earners are usually the top 20%. And 80% of my problems, whatever I come with, it's exactly the same thing I don't care what you do, the 80-20 rule always comes to effect. Sometimes it's 90-10. If you educate yourself, this is the thing about it. You got to have continuous education. And that's what I talk to my people. I don't charge my consultations. It's all about education. And I talk for 2 to 3 hours with some of my clients. But it's not about charging a fee. It's about educating on them so that they can have a secure financial future, not only now, but in the future, and legacy planning for the family.
Yeah. And so with that, what would you want us to know? And as an example, I want to go back to taxes for just a moment, because you said something so interesting. And actually in our Deep Wealth 9-step roadmap, Step 4, due diligence. This is before you ever go to market. Maybe you want to raise investment for your business. Maybe you want to have an exit. Well, forget investors, forget an exit. If your business isn't around, what's the point of all that? And in due diligence, you have a 300-point checklist that we have everyone go through to see what's there. One thing that I find, and you can say, Jeffrey, on base or off base, when it comes to taxes, for most entrepreneurs, well, my accountants will take care of it. And to a certain degree, they will, but they're not necessarily tax specialists. And there's going to be all kinds of what we call skeletons in the closet that they're leaving. But what most entrepreneurs don't understand, and I'd love for you to go through with this, if I sell my company tomorrow, or if I have an investor come in and I take some of the chips off the table for me, and the investor writes the check today, if I don't have tax strategies in place, I can't put them in tomorrow and say, okay, Uncle Sam, guess what? I sold the business, or I took some chips off the table through this investor. I now want to save some taxes. It doesn't work like that. So can you share with Deep Wealth Nation, how long does it typically take? And I know it's going to be arranged, but how long does it typically take? We put a tax strategy in today. When does it become viable that we actually start seeing the fruit of our labor for that?
Well, believe it or not, it could be immediately, because this world of AI, everything becomes so visible anymore. But I always tell people, you've got to have a plan for everything that you do. You must review your plan. If you don't have a plan, make one. If you do have a plan, review it every quarter, every 6 months, every year. It's just like beneficiary forms. A perfect example. This guy was married to this woman, divorced her. She was on the original beneficiary form. And when he died 25 years later, his wife that he lived with for the last 25 years got nothing because he didn't change the beneficiary form. That can be, you can use this for anything that you do in life. You've got to update your plans every year, but this is just one of the things. It's like you're talking about, you think the accountant is going to do the right number. The accountants, they're number takers. They want the right numbers for your tax returns. There's no proactive training or advice that they give. That's why you need to look at different people for different ideas that are proven, not just in the gray area. I don't deal in gray areas. It's all black letter law that my team deals with. And like I said, I've got the top tax specific CPAs and attorneys in the United States. But there's so many things out there, just like corporations. Is it a C corporation, an S corporation, an LLC? Well, it may be a C corporation this year, but it might be an S corporation next year. There's all kinds of ways to change. Just like with a C corporation, you only taxed it at 21%. But your S corporation, you may be taxed at 37%. That's a 16% savings right there. So there's a lot of things that you can do, just business entities, how you're paid, how trusts are set up. Again, like your business is set up and what you want to accomplish. That's the big thing, is what do you want to accomplish in life? And I always tell people, it's not how much in assets you have, it's how much you have in assets after taxes are paid. And you've got these businessmen and entrepreneurs that are very successful. I don't know if you remember Don, he owned the Miami Dolphins.
Sure.
Well, he had the stadium there. He owned the Miami Dolphins. He was worth $400 million at one time. And he died. He had no exit plan. His family got next to nothing because the government came in, confiscated his assets, and sold them to pay the taxes on his estate. It's the same thing with Prince the Entertainer, died about 3 years ago. He had his family is going to get maybe 20% of that estate because they're selling all the estate and to pay the taxes on the estate, all his assets. What's really criminal about that, attorneys are going to get 6 to 12% of that estate for legal fees.
Yeah, there's so much going on there. So let's roll back the curtain a little bit more. Alan, I'm coming to you. Let's just take the position I'm a typical entrepreneur. I'm charging forward. My business is growing. I'm busy. Outside of my accountants, I haven't done a thing in terms of estate planning or tax planning or seeing what's there or insurance or anything else like that. What's the method to your madness? What are you going to be doing with me? And I understand, Alan, if you say, well, Jeffrey, how can I answer that? Every business, every entrepreneur is different. I get that. But generally speaking, what does it look like in terms of your process? How long does it take? What kinds of things am I doing? And coming out of that, what can I expect?
Well, first off, I set up a discovery meeting, not with just myself, with my tax team. And with that tax team, what we'll do is we'll see how you're structured. They'll see your tax returns from one or two, or how many years ago, or what are your plans for the future? And this way we can do some tax planning, because you've got to have tax planning.
Hmm.
because the tax laws change every year.
Hmm.
You may have a tax deduction this year, but it's not going to be available the following year. But now in March here next month, all our tax strategies are going to be vetted for the year 2026, and there's going to be some huge tax strategies for people to save a lot of money. And that's when you start planning this stuff. Sometimes day one, you can we can come up with a plan. It's going to take a while to institute
Hmm.
to develop,
Yep.
but at least you have the thought process there going, okay, it's not how much money I make, it's how much money I keep after taxes and how to
Exactly.
protect my assets.
Hmm. Yeah. And so typically, how long is that going to take as you're walking me through? Okay, I've got your tax returns. Jeffrey, what about this? What about that? And I know everyone is different, but generally speaking, how is it weeks, months? What are we looking at?
I can usually probably within 2 weeks to a month give a good plan, get set up. Now, once we get the plan set up, now it takes more time.
Yeah.
But now we get the plan set up because we got to get a lot of documentation from the individual,
Hmm.
and that's my team takes a look at it. They go through there and check for whatever strategies we're going to use. It might be one strategy, maybe three or four strategies. But that's the thing about working with a team because not everybody can know everything.
Absolutely. And I want to circle back to something that you said a little bit earlier. You're not charging for the initial consultation. It's not just you. You have a team. So you're not a one-hit wonder with Alan that if you get abducted by aliens or you decide to take a month vacation, everything comes to a hold, that you have a system, a service that's going on out there that I can do. I know so many founders, they say, well, Jeffrey, yeah, tax advising, someone like Alan is really only for the ultra wealthy, the rich. And I don't have enough zeros in the bank account to justify that. So yeah, sure, maybe when my business gets to there, wherever there is, I'll circle back and think about Alan. Why don't you share with Depot Nation why that is wrong in every which way?
Well, it's wrong in every which way because I don't care if you make $50,000 or $5 million. I'm here to help you.
Hmm.
Of course, it changes with every level of income.
Sure.
But if you want help, I'm here to help you. Again, I don't charge my consultations. I'm very passionate about what I do because of what's happened to my family and other families when they don't take care of themselves and they always rely on, well, my cousin did this or my uncle did that. Well, your cousin and your uncle are all broke too.
Exactly. If we do what everyone else does, we're going to get the results that everyone else
Like
gets.
the Einstein says, you do the same thing over and expect different results. That's insanity.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I would love to circle back on, and again, Depot Nation, go to the show notes. In there are all the links for these resources in your book, Tax-Free Retirement Solution. I love how you walk us through step by step what to do. You have the 8 different chapters. Each one is really a strategy in and of itself. You talk about something that I really don't hear a lot out there. It's what you call in chapter 5, the long-term care crisis that you can't ignore. So illuminate Depot Nation. What's going on there that they really should know, but they don't?
Nobody's prepared for long-term care, Jeffrey. It's unbelievable. I've got people that are 65 and 70 years of age. Well, I'm not going to need long-term care. Well, guess what? 70% of all Americans are going to need long-term care at some point in their life. 40% of all Americans between the age of 18 and 64 are on long-term care right now. I'm 73 years of age. My brother is 3 years older than I am. He's had Alzheimer's for the last 2 years, and he's gotten very bad this last month. I don't think he's going to last the summer. But sometimes these long-term, it will devastate people. People with Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, they can be away for 5, 7 years and just exist, just sit there in a chair. They don't know themselves, they don't know their family. But here, Jeffrey, is a big problem. The caregiver is the one that ends up being the worst off because you can have $1 million, $2 million in your portfolio, but it's called Medicaid spend down. Medicare does not pay for long-term care. Medicaid does. And if you got that money in a portfolio and it's not protected in a Medicaid protected trust, and that's got to be done. That's just what I don't understand. It's got to be done 5 years before the event happens. Well, who can forecast when I'm going to need long-term care? But if you don't have a Medicaid I can't even talk protection trust in place 5 years before, the government's going to come in and they're going to confiscate all your assets to pay for the long-term care of that person's entered. And the surviving spouse is going to be left with one car, one house, approximately $137,000 in a small subsistence allowance.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not prepared for it. And I'll give you a couple examples.
Sure.
I got a couple that it wasn't my client, but They had about $5 million, and they were 67 and just enjoying their retirement and everything, getting ready to go on a trip. They got a 42-year-old son. They got a phone call. He died of a heart attack in his driveway. He has 4 kids, no life insurance, and his wife doesn't work. So guess who's going to be taking care of that family? Another one. They're 72 years of age. They're getting ready to go on a world tour here. And she started getting sick, and comes to find out 6 months later, she's got Alzheimer's. And then 6 months after that, she's in long-term care. Things like that. If you're not prepared for it, it will devastate your plans. But I tell people I can mitigate or I can eliminate long-term care risk through the cash value of properly constructed cash value life insurance policies, whether whole life or index universal life. Because what you do, as an example, you pay for pennies on the dollar, that death benefit. Your house cash value may be $100,000, but your death benefit's $1 million. You can use up to 90% of that for long-term care, tax-free.
Yeah. And Deep Wealth Nation, what I want you to think about, and we talk about this here at Deep Wealth and Deep Wealth Mastery Program. In fact, we have our 9-step roadmap. There's actually a 10th step. And Alan, that 10th step, we put right up in the beginning, step 0, if I can call it that. We talk about the post-exit life. Whenever that may be, it could be 5 decades from now. It could be 5 months from now, anything else in between. And we have entrepreneurs do something that I never did. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my post-exit life, I never planned for the post-exit life. We talk about, well, what does life look like? What are you doing? And I have to share with you, Alan, that as entrepreneurs, just about every entrepreneur that I speak with, Jeffrey, I started my business not just for my lifestyle, but to have a legacy for my family, for my children, that while I'm alive and also beyond that, they have a comfort of life that I never really had at their age. I wasn't fortunate enough to do that. I had to put everything on the line to be able to get that. And Deep Wealth Nation, that's all fine and good. But with what Alan is talking about, a health crisis comes up. It's not fair to the next generation that you're now saddling them either with the costs or the legacy that you planned financially for your family. It's gone, poof, because it's taking care of you. We're all living longer. It's going beyond what we ever had planned for, and that's a terrific thing. That said, though, if all your hard-earned dollars from taking the chips off the table from investors or having an exit or the profits that you've been investing and putting away, if that goes to your healthcare, as it should, you deserve it, you earned it. But if you're not prepared for that, you're not going to have that kind of post-exit experience for you, for your family that you're hoping for. And so, Alan, as you've been talking, my takeaway are a few things. Hey, number one, Jeffrey, you're probably not deploying tax strategies that you can begin to realize right now today, but also post-exit when you really need it, when you sell the business or an investor comes in, or maybe the next generation buys the business from you, you have an infusion of cash. Well, Uncle Sam legally is not going to be getting as much because we've done the planning and it's provable. If the IRS comes in, we can speak to them about, hey, here's why we're able to do it. This is why it's justified. There's nothing offside with this. You're also talking about having the right kind of vehicles, whether it be insurance or other kinds of policies or programs that cover the unexpected for pennies on the dollar instead of paying a premium should something happen. Hopefully it doesn't, but should something happen. And so we're beginning to lockstep surround ourselves with tax strategies, with protection through premiums and policies that are going to help ensure that me, my family, my loved ones are protected. And by the way, Deep Wealth Nation, you're not seeing Alan. I got to tell you, seeing Alan, he looks 30 years his junior in terms of his appearance. My goodness, probably from the peace of mind, Alan, that you're getting. You look so young, probably from the peace of mind that you're getting. Hey, I'm taken care of. My family's taken care of. I got nothing to worry about. Do you have that, Deep Wealth Nation, or is there worry? Is there additional stress that you don't need? So, Alan, with what I was sharing, would love your thoughts on that. Anything that I perhaps missed with that? Any additional insights before we move on to the next topic?
Well, the thing is, when people don't plan for things, the government taxes you on what you own, not what you control. That's absolutely huge. And when you've got the proper people to put you into financial entities, whether it's trust or whatever, and especially with AI, because everything is visible immediately.
Yep.
It's the government is going to tax you on what you own. Yeah, tax you what you own, but not on what you control. And that's going to be a huge thing, especially now.
Yeah. And speaking of now, and I know the tax is always changing and the different policies and the rules, and oftentimes it's not necessarily better. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. For an entrepreneur today, let's forget about last year or 5 years ago or who knows how far back. What's been some of the biggest changes today that as an entrepreneur I'm probably not aware of, Alan, that you and the team you're coming across each day that here at Deep Wealth, we call it a skeleton in the closet. You don't know about it. Ignorance is not bliss. You better know about it because it'll have some very big implications for you if it's not dealt with properly.
Well, some of the things that people, as I said before, they rely on their advisors. They've been with them for 10 or 20 years or their father's advisor.
Mm-hmm.
They need to think outside the box of conventional financial planning. I talk about insurance all the time. I think insurance is, here's Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey, insurance is a terrible investment. Well, first off, it's not an investment.
Sure.
It's an asset class all its own. There's no other financial product that can deliver the promises, the benefits, and the protection of properly constructed cash value life insurance, whether it's whole life or index universal life or fixed indexed annuities.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to understand that. And they need to understand how all their financial, if you've got whatever your portfolio has, how these instruments work, especially in retirement, because it's not about rate of return in retirement. It's about distribution of your assets. And I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say, again, you've got that $1 million in a stock portfolio at a 4% distribution rate. That's $40,000 a year, not guaranteed. But you'd only need to have approximately $650,000 of that $1 million in certain fixed indexed annuities to give you the same $40,000 per year, and that's guaranteed for life. And when the indexing strategies go up, you have an increasing income that's locked in. You can't do that with a stock portfolio, and people have no idea. That leaves you $350,000 to do with what you want. You can pay the taxes on it. It makes it a Roth IRA. Does not affect the taxation of Social Security or the means testing for Medicare Part B. That's just one example. But that's absolutely huge for people. It's not about rate of return in retirement. It's about distribution of your assets. And I'm not against the stock portfolio, not at all. Everybody needs to have that. But they need to have in retirement and in the future, they need to have different buckets of money. Guaranteed income, for one thing. It's already been proven by Harvard studies. If you have guaranteed income in retirement, you're going to live a healthier, happier, and longer life and less stressful life because you don't have to worry about the ups and downs in the market because you know you've got that guaranteed money coming in just to pay for the necessities of life. And there's other things. People, entrepreneurs get all caught up in everything. How am I going to pay for my kids' college education? Very few people know that cash value life insurance is the best college funding vehicle available today, bar none. It beats the government 529 plan all to pieces because, number one, it's controlled by the government. It has many limitations and penalties. It's tied to the market, so you have huge volatility. If you're sending your kids to college in 2008, you lost 50% of your 529 plan. With insurance, it's self-completing. You're never going to have a loss.
Sure.
Because you're guaranteed by contract never to have a loss to the market because we're not tied to the market. We use indexing strategies. That's the Barclays Dynamic Balance Index, the Euro Index, the S&P 500 Index. There's 176 different ones, probably more now. But again, it all comes down, and it doesn't count towards if you're applying for a loan or for scholarship or stuff, it doesn't account for income when you're doing this. That's absolutely huge for people because if you've got income, that my granddaughter was trying, and with her father and his new wife, they didn't qualify in certain things because of the too much income. But I've got three whole life policies for my grandkids for the college education. Because again, it's the greatest college funding vehicle available out there. And that's just another thing of how we can plan for you guys or for the clients. And because they never think about that.
Yeah.
They don't think about longer. They don't think about protecting their assets from it.
And Alan, what I'm hearing you say, and again, Jeffrey, on base, off base, you're not here to replace the accountants, as an example, that an entrepreneur, maybe they've been working with for decades, and who knows, maybe they're family, friends, whatever the case may be. You're not here to replace, you're here to supplement. You fit into the existing structure of what's there. And Deep Wealth Nation, you might be thinking, well, Jeffrey, I don't have the time. This sounds complicated. I don't understand any of this. Well, that's exactly why you want to have a conversation with Alan and team, because they'll walk you through what you don't know, and what you don't know, you don't know. And again, ignorance is not bliss. So Alan, you're adding on to what's there. You're not taking away. You're filling in the hidden gaps. You're removing those skeletons in the closet so the entrepreneur walks away with peace of mind, knowing that they've taken care of everything that they possibly can. They'll be paying lower taxes. Heaven forbid, should something happen, they're going to be covered. There's not going to be sleepless nights because they've done the investment of their time, their energy, their resources right here and now. How am I doing with that?
Well, something I can tell you right now, and I've been doing this for a decade and a half, and I didn't start until I was 58. This is after my daughter-in-law died.
Yeah.
I became my own financial institution. Now, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Have you ever heard of effective interest cost?
Why don't you share it with Deep Wealth Nation? Absolutely.
All right. Effective interest cost. I had this gentleman, he was 42 years of age, retired from the military. He wanted to do my tax-free retirement plan in an index universal life insurance policy. I said, well, how much debt do you have? He said, well, Alan, we bought a new house a couple of months ago. Got a great interest rate, 2.75. I said, yeah, that's great. I said, what else? He said, well, I got a couple car payments, a loan, and a credit card. I said, fill out this form and we'll do a Zoom conference the following week. We did. I said, you've got $461,000 in debt. That's not your problem. The problem is that 49.76 effective interest cost you're paying on that 2.75% mortgage. He said, Alan, what are you talking about? I said, it's not going to get down to the 2.75 until the last couple months of the mortgage. I said, you got a credit card here, and most people's credit cards, his credit card was over 90% effective interest cost.
Yeah.
Most people's credit cards earn anywhere from 70 to 95% effective interest cost. And I said, even though you've got great credits, your average effective interest cost is over 46%. I said, what financial vehicle are you investing in your 401k, which he's paying $1,000 a month for, gives you a 46% return on your money, because 46 cents of every dollar that you pay goes to compound interest for some financial institution, and that money is gone forever. He says, well, nothing. He said, in fact, I lost 10% of my 401k last year. I said, okay, what we can do, and it's going to take you 20-some years to pay your debts off from what you told me. He said, yeah, because we're paying extra on the mortgage. I said, with our program, through a tax-free bucket of money and a whole life insurance policy, we're going to pay your debts off 14.173 years faster, save you $73,000 in interest. At the end of 10 years, it's a 10-year policy. It's paid for. We took that $1,000 a month that you're putting in your 401k, and we're doing this policy. So you're 52 years of age, you're debt-free, you become your own bank because there's over $130,000 in a tax-free bucket of money that you'll never have to go to the bank to borrow money for a car, college education for your kids, or anything else. And there's a $400,000 death benefit to protect your family. Now, I want you to understand this. When you're 52 years of age, you have no more debt. I've showed you how to become your own bank. You don't have to put any more money in this policy. By the time you're 65, there'll be almost $250,000 of tax-free money that you can use in policy loans that does not affect the taxation of Social Security, the means testing for Medicare Part B. You're protected from lawsuits, liens, and judgments. It avoids probate and mitigates or eliminates all the risk in retirement than any other vehicle only compounds. He said, Alan, you made a dream of mine come true, but why don't people know this? I said, it's not rocket science. It ought to be taught in high school, but it's not. They don't teach doctors any of this stuff. I've got doctors with PhD degrees in accounting and finance. They have no idea what I'm talking about, and sometimes I teach their classes. But it's just things like this that people don't understand, the effective interest cost. And when I say become your own financial institution, I've been doing this for a decade and a half. Let's give you an example. I got $100,000 in a cash value. My death benefit's $1 million, okay? Now, I'm going to take $50,000 and go buy a car, and I'm going to pay myself back at 0% interest. So when I take that $50,000 out, my cash value continues to compound, okay? It's just a lien against the death benefit. Now, it accrues interest, but I don't even have to pay the loan back if I don't want to.
Sure.
All right, but I'm paying myself back because what I'm doing now is I'm paying myself back $1,000 a month for 50 months. Now, if I was doing this for a financial institution and even at the 0% interest, I would pay $50,000 to some financial institution, and that would compound for them forever. That money for me is gone. But when I pay myself back into my life insurance policy, it's worth tens of thousands of dollars more in my cash value. And my death benefit continues to grow because I have an increasing death benefit.
Absolutely. In Deep Wealth Nation, there's a reason why Warren Buffett, remember that guy, Warren Buffett? He said that interest is the eighth wonder of the world. More specifically, compound interest. It's the eighth wonder of the world because compound interest is incredible in terms of what it does. And Alan, you're correctly pointing out hey, if you can lower your effective interest rate, it's money directly back in your pocket, and you're sharing some strategies. And Alan, before we go into wrap-up mode, are there some additional topics or a theme or a message, even a question I haven't yet asked that you'd like to share with Deep Wealth Nation?
It's not just legacy planning, it's generational legacy planning, what we do with these tax strategies. But the whole thing just involves about becoming aware of what's going on and becoming educated. and having a team of people that you can trust to work with. And that's what I found. Whatever I do, I have a team of people that I work with. I want to find the best people that I know of in the industry. I always surround myself with experts, because if I want somebody that has done this stuff before and saved millions of dollars, and then I've got this other accountant over here, his biggest account is $1 million and no tax strategies.
Sure.
Well, I'm not going to go to that account. I'm going to go to the tax experts.
Absolutely. Words to the wise. And speaking of words to the wise, Alan, we're going to go into wrap-up mode. It's our tradition here on the Deep Wealth Podcast. It's my privilege, my honor. Every guest, I ask the same question. It's a really fun question. Let me set this up for you. When you think of the movie Back to the Future, you have that magical DeLorean car that will take you to any point in time. So here's the fun part, Alan, is tomorrow morning, you look outside your window. Not only is the DeLorean car curbside, the door is open, waiting for you to hop on in, which you do, and you're now going to go to any point in your life. Alan, as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time it would be, what are you telling your younger self in terms of life lessons or life wisdom? Or, hey, Alan, do this, but don't do that. What would it sound like?
Well, the first thing I would do, once I didn't have a lot of novels going on. When I got to a point to where I can afford insurance, I would have bought cash value life insurance was the first thing I would have done. And I would immediately bought policies for my kids, and their college funding would be paid for, especially when they're babies. The younger you start, the better it is, because the cost of insurance is less. That's the number one thing going back in time that I wish I would have done. But I didn't know this stuff until I was 58 years of age.
Better late than never, as they say. So Deep Wealth Nation, are you hearing that? The younger that you can start with the right kind of insurance policy, the better off you're going to be. Don't wait. And while we're at this, Alan, somebody in Deep Wealth Nation, they have a question for you. They want to speak to you or the team. They want to know where they are and how they can get to where they want to be. Where's the best place online to find you?
Well, you can always call me at 910-551-1046. My website is www.strategicwealthstrategies.com. You can go on there. I've got a calculator that it's on the left-hand side of my page on my website that will give you an estimate of your retirement taxes. And I can show you how that, and we can do tax strategies to get that money back for you. My email address is strategicwealth0@gmail.com. But I want everybody to understand, I don't charge a fee for my consultation. Now, I spent years and years of studying to be able to sit here and talk to you about this and write these books. But I want to put this information out to people because people need to know this. They don't know it. It's like you said, what if you thought something was true and turned out not to be true? When would you want to find out about it? Well, obviously, immediately. And that's what I try to get through to people. Think outside the box of conventional financial planning and start planning a future for you, not your financial planner or his company. Plan your financial future for you and your family.
Absolutely. And Deep Wealth Nation, it doesn't get any easier. It's all in the show notes. Go there. It's a point and click. Take Alan up on his invitation. My goodness, he gave us his phone number, gave us his email. Reach out to him. It doesn't get any easier before you go into your next call or meeting or activity. Reach out to Alan. Have the conversation with him. Well, Alan, it's official. Congratulations. This is a wrap. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much.